For 25 years, Seth Lightman has seen it all. From the newest electric car revolution, solar power, bike lanes made in NYC. And now we are here. More electric cars, need for more renewables and eco-friendly products in our world. Well, now it's time for an all-out podcast for this time, The Green Living Guy Show. He's funny, real, exactly on point, and some think his style is so raw, it's crazy. Let's do this, folks. It's time for The Green Living Guy Show.
Do you want a podcast on green living? For over 25 years, podcaster Seth Lightman has been into electric cars and solar since the 90s. Now he wants to bring his experience, New York attitude, and love for green living to the masses so that we can all have fun, live greener, and save this planet for generations to come. They say a true man plants a tree that will never sit in the shade. That's the green living guy, Seth Lightman at heart. He is also an author and editor of 9 Green Guru Guides and has worked for New York State for 10 years doing green. For more information, visit greenlivingguy.com and subscribe to his podcast.
Welcome to Reality Tea Times 2, the podcast where we discuss all the trash reality TV we love to hate. I'm Tanika, and today we are going to be discussing The Single Life. So, again, I'm just doing the announcements at the beginning of all of these episodes, and I think a lot of these are going to get during the week, especially because I'm not covering anything. Those will kind of be the last little bit that you're getting. But announcement again, I have surgery coming up this week. I'm not going to be doing any recording of new shows between April 1st and April 29th. There is a full list, a full explanation as to how things are going to be covered. But if you want to listen to the full recap of the announcement, go over to Love a Translation that was released on March 28th, and everything is also there. But you can also go to Facebook and it is on there. I am not able to get it on Twitter, and I am not able to get onto Instagram, so everything will be there. Actually, maybe I can't get it onto Instagram. I'm gonna try something else, but right now it is on Facebook. Maybe on Instagram by the time you're listening to this. So that's what I'm telling you, so you can listen to the full thing there. For Single Life, we are going to be covering the other three parts of this tell-all in one episode when I get back. So you're still going to get a recap of The Single Life, but it's going to be when I am back. So that will be about, I think, 2 weeks or so after the show has ended is when you can get like a full recap of The Single Life parts, 3 to 5. So that will be there. So there is nothing you're going to be losing out on. Also, I just want to say this, Married at First Sight, I said, well, if Decision Day hasn't happened yet, Decision Day has happened. It's the final episode. Thank the Lord Jesus. So happy because I did finally watch it. So we will be finishing up at least the main parts of Married at First Sight, except for the reunion, which is in a couple of weeks or so from when I'm recording this. So you'll get that though when I'm back. So that's basically it on the announcement front. But that's it. We have no hot goss. There is some hot goss in the HEA episode. So there's some stuff there. I'll try to get more for you while I'm recording the other ones. But I do have one that's going to be on the Seeking to Survive episode, because I think it's fitting for what I have. But we are just going to hop into the reason that we are here. 90 Day The Single Life, Season 4, Episode 13, Tell All, Part 2. So we still got Karen just waiting in the wings, wanting to get out there, saying you wear your own granny panties then, Um, and we hear her be like, do I get to go? So she's coming out, and Chantel and Karen hug. And when they're jumping up and down, I'm sure all of us saw this, Chantel's like slapping her mom's ass. Now, listen, I've had people of the same sex, like my best friend, slap my ass or whatever. I've never had even an inkling to slap my mom's ass you know, or anything like that. Like, it's weird. It's very weird. Not to mention Karen out here looking like she's a solid gold dancer. Solid gold. And I'm still real young to even know the reference, but I've seen them. So I know the reference because my mom has said it too. And all I want to do is start singing, the Beyonce version in Austin Powers 3. That's what I think of. But don't worry, if you don't understand the reference, you might be young, but that's okay. So am I. There is a reference on the socials of the solid gold dancer. It's pretty great. But she does look like a solid gold dancer. It's ridiculous. Fucking great. Anyway, when Chantel also slapped Karen's ass, Debbie's face was like, oh my God. Like, she was like, just taken aback. She's like, what the fuck? It was literally on her face. It was great. But that's how you kind of know, like, you're dealing with a different band of people. I mean, do I think Miss Karen is hungry for the fame, for the attention? Of course she is. Because when she says to Chantel a little later, that's why I should have been there. Next time I am going to be there. And Chantel's face is like, shh, no. This woman is hungry for the fame. And listen, she should have been nicer to the fan that fed her. Because if there was no divorce between Chantel and Pedro, family Chantel probably would have kept going. Eventually, all things come to an end, but the show probably would have kept going. So instead, you wanted to be a fucking xenophobe, okay? And keep telling him that him and his family is just here to harvest the American dollar. You lost your source of the American dollar. You bit the hand that fed you, and that was Pedro. So, because in the end of the day, no one in this family is ever going to admit that the reason that their divorce ended was because of Miss Karen, Thomas, River, mainly River, maybe a little Winter in there too. Can't blame Royal because he like, nope, I'm out. So it's because of the family dynamic. And same goes for Pedro's. Pedro's family will never admit that the reason their marriage ended is because of them. They'll never admit it though. But the main thing is, Chantel and Pedro can never admit that to themselves. Especially Chantel. And I understand, her hatred to him and everything like that. I get it. But you need to look in within yourself and be like, some shit is afoot, Anyway. So then we get into the conversation now, about what Debbie, Miss Debbie was saying, not Mama Debbie, Miss Debbie was saying. And I'm going to have some things I need to say about Miss Debbie in a minute, because I'm a little disappointed in her at this point. But she basically says, Karen says, everyone has got their own style. And Debbie says, we want to protect our daughters. We're both moms. We want to protect our daughters. And we are more than just sex objects. And Karen says, yes, but we are also good on our skins, right? We're comfortable. And she's like, we may not necessarily be sex objects. Like, I never think she would ever say to her daughter, you're a sex object. She would never say that. We're not necessarily sex objects, that is true. But we are also sexy women. So I agree with Karen because, yes, I my main thing about Chantel not wearing underwear, because for me, I would never put myself in a situation where I don't wear. I don't like being outside. I don't like being inside my house without underwear on. If I'm like clothed or whatever, I don't particularly like that feeling. I mean, hell, even when I would go like swimming, um, swimming lessons or whatever, I didn't even like the feeling of being out without underwear from there to home. I never liked that feeling. So that's me. But my biggest thing about Chantel not wearing underwear was the dress barely covered much, and I was worried about some wind catching her skirt, and then the whole world about to see her goodies and bits, okay? And then also her sitting on that man's thing with no underwear on. That's a yeast infection waiting to happen. That's what my concern was. But at the end of the day, there are women who don't wear underwear under their dresses if they're going out. You know, there are people who wear thong, whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, I don't care. I don't care in hindsight you not wearing underwear. It doesn't hurt me. Doesn't do a shit to me. Okay? It just doesn't. So I agree with Miss Karen in the sense that everyone has their own style. Chantel, yes, may be a pretty face, but she is a woman with an amazing body, so why shouldn't she flaunt it? I've never had issue with Chantel flaunting her body. Um, like the whole like Debbie Tim thing is just ridiculous to me. It doesn't, but also dressing in that way, although yes, there's the other side of it where you're like, well, you got to protect yourself because men are so gross and, they can take advantage of you. But she is with a bunch of people who, aren't going to let anything bad happen to her. Except for that one time she went on that man's bike. God knows that man could have been an axe murderer. We don't know. We don't know. Right? I mean, I think a camera crew being there probably helps. But, in all honesty, no one go on the back of a random motorcycle. It's not safe. But, you know, she's safe. And you know what? If she wants to go out there and be a sex object, then let her. I don't care. That's what I'd rather she do. Go out there and slut it up. Fuck every man you see. Do it. Because I feel like Chantel's never been able to really have that. She got married young, we all have at some point, but she got married young. She spent about roughly 10 years of her life with this man. She's now in her 30s, and yes, she has goals in life that were wasted because of Pedro. Understandable. But have a little fun. Greece does not need to be finding you a husband. Greece may be needing you to help you find an orgasm. Okay? Find someone who can make you see the stars. Just like Jasmine wanted Gino to do, There is nothing wrong with that. And I did agree with Debbie on the one side of your saying you want to find a husband, but if the girl wants to wear no underwear, that doesn't change her prospects on finding a husband. It just doesn't. I'm sorry. You can't convince me. There are going to be men out there who find women in situations like Chantel or worse and marry that woman. So it just doesn't make any sense to me. But the shaming, the biggest part of this is the shaming from Debbie to Chantel is sick. You may want to be like, well, you're more than a sex object, you're more than that, Chantel, whatever. But at the end of the day, you are a woman. You should be empowering another woman and whatever the hell they want to do. Yes, you might have this old school way of thinking, but you can't put your old school way of thinking on other people. I'm sorry, but I highly fucking doubt you were this young Debbie back in the day, not slutting it up. You lived through the 70s, ma'am. Don't make me think that you're out here not slutting your shit up, please. The fact that you married both Latino men. You clearly had a thing for Latino men, and you literally just told the world that your second husband cause you not to walk the next day. Ma'am, please no. And then let me also say this. A 67-year-old woman isn't dating or potentially going to marry a 24-year-old man for his art. No, no, no. You're most likely going to marry him for his dick. So please, Debbie has no leg to stand on. Okay, she's made some choice decisions herself. So her over here shaming Chantel for the decisions she's making as a 32-year-old woman, we still have room for growth here. You know, at 32, I would like to think so. And her at 67, there is still room for growth. But you also should know better a little more than Chantel does. A little bit more. And you're making worse decisions, in my opinion, than Chantel did. Chantel slutting it up in Greece after her marriage failed. There's nothing wrong with that. You potentially marrying a man 40 years your junior, that's a problem. So, like I said, I'm disappointed in Debbie in the way she's talking to Chantel. She clearly had like this target on Chantel from the very beginning. And I want to say this, I never thought about this, but it's brought up to my attention, and that's a very good point. Debbie shaming Chantel for having her own makeup team and kind of making a snide comment about that. Debbie, you're a white woman with white complexion. Chantel is a black woman with a black woman's complexion, and not every person can work on a black woman's makeup and a black woman's hair. So please, just shut up. But clearly, again, she has this target on Chantel, and I don't like that either. Because I find it very interesting that you're targeting the only black woman on the cast. Not the only colored woman on the cast, because it's Veronica, but the only black woman on the cast. And I find that really gross. But anyways, let's continue. So, Ray and Veronica are on Chantel's side. So that's good. She has somebody. She's like, I was just trying to have fun and let loose at my divorce party. Like, that's what she was trying to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. And we get flashbacks now of Giannis and all that. So she says that she's still in touch with him. They do speak. Chantel does say, I am single. So she's not like tied down to Giannis or anything. So she does say that. She says she really does like him. So, then we start going down Chantel's list that she said that she wanted in a man. She said, and I might have missed at least one of these things, but she said successful, patient, well endowed, there's nothing wrong with that. I think she said fit, like, in good shape. And she says, like, did you get all those things? She says, consider all of those things. And she does, but of course, when it comes to the well endowed, she says, I don't really know. I mean, obviously she didn't see it, but she said that she felt it when they were on the beach. So she thinks he might be, but of course she doesn't know for sure. And then we have to hear from Debbie again, basically being like, looking for her man who's well endowed, isn't the thing that you should be looking for. Ma'am, let me tell you something. Do I agree in the whole picture that the well endowed thing shouldn't be the thing you're focused on? Sure. If you happen to find a man who is well endowed, in the process of trying to find somebody, you've hit the fucking jackpot. If you can find a man who is successful, who does have a great body, like, listen, I got my man who has a great body. I consider him successful. And he's hot. And yes, he's a lot of things. If he's sweet and he's kind and he's attentive. There's all of those things. But honey is well endowed too, and I am a happy fucking camper. And trust me, I wasn't looking for it. You know, I have low expectations because I've had men say that they are and they're not. So I have low expectations. But trust me, I felt that shit before I saw that shit. And I'm like, he's mine for the rest of my life. So don't be, again, I'm going to use the reference when she said that her second husband caused her not to walk the next day. Okay. So clearly, that man, at the very least, knew what the fuck he was doing with his dick. So don't come to me about that shit. Because no woman out here wants a small dick. No one, not even you, Debbie. We all want a man who has a little something to work with. Okay? And if Chantel wants a man who's well endowed, then let her fucking have it. Because I also think that's what she's used to. As much as she wants to say she just wants something that she's ever had, which again, don't talk about a man's penis when he ain't here, but that's not what I've heard. That's not what I've heard. And she says, I'm not naming names, but come on, come on. You're most likely talking about the man who you spent 7 years married to, okay? And I did not hear that he had a small dick, okay? I've heard quite the opposite. And not to mention, I've also heard that Dominican men in general are very well endowed, okay? So, and again, that's I know it's a generalization. I know there's probably some men in the Dominican Republic who are not, but I think there's quite a bit, you know? But there's nothing wrong with wanting a man with a big dick. I'm sorry. Like, I don't see nothing wrong. Anyways, um, she says literally at one point, before she says, I want what I haven't had, she literally says, I like what I like. And that's true. I am not with a man who is woof. And if we weren't to work out, I don't want to be with a man with a small dick. I'm sorry, I just don't. Because I like what I like and I'm used to what I'm used to. So does that make me a slut? Cause then fine. Anyway. And Chantel in this moment, like she's describing Jonas' body, she's into it or whatever. She's like, sorry, I'm talking about his body again. But it's like, so I can sit here and be like, my man's body is great too. I love his arms are strong and it's a huge turn on. Like there's nothing wrong with that, but I can only talk about the other things. But her and Giannis are so new that what else is she going to talk about right now? What else is she going to talk about? And Veronica makes a good point too. I can't remember exactly when, but she makes a good point where she says, but it's those things, those physical attributes that draws Chantel in to be able to learn the other things. And that is true. That is dating. You're going to be attracted to how the person looks, their face, their body, whatever. You're going to be attracted to them on the physical front because you need to pass the test, right? We all are into what we're into. And then once you're able to move past that, you're going to go deeper and learn about them. You're going to learn about their personality. You're going to, learn the different things you like about them. You're going to learn about their lives. You're going to learn things. That is how dating works. Like, come on. Are you trying to tell me that she's not into Ruben physically? There's no way you're not. There had to have been something that drew you in. The other guy, there clearly was something that drew you into him to even go on a date with the man. And you literally looked at a thing and said that looked like your ex. It's fucking great. Like, there must have been something about Osama too that drew you in the physical front of things. So this whole thing of shaming Chantel, it feels like an attack now. Like it's not okay. Like, anyway. So then Debbie, because Veronica did say it around this time, Debbie then comes for Veronica in the shadiest of shades I've ever heard. And she says, But Veronica, you worried about those things too, whether a man was well endowed and all that, and you're still single. And Tim is like a giggling. He's like, that was some shit. That was low key shade. It was a low key shade. She was legitimately shading her. Shut up, Debbie. I'm sorry. I'm lost respect. I've lost respect for Debbie because you're literally over here attacking women for being single. No, I don't think the issue is that Veronica likes a man who has a huge dick. I don't think that's the fucking problem why she's single. The problem she's single is because of Tim and her relationship with Tim. That's why. So to come at her for those reasons, like, are you fucking kidding me? That's like she is a woman shaming other women for being in the same position that she is in. Ma'am, you have no leg to stand on. You're on the single life too. Like, you're out here shaming her for being single when you're on the single life. You literally have been married twice, both failed. You then were with Osama, that failed. You then tried dating this other guy, that failed miserably. Now you're with Ruben, who you're not probably officially with, and you said there are things you found out about him. So I'm just gonna say it's probably not gonna work out either. You have no leg to stand on. My God. Like, what the fuck? I'm like, do we know what show we're on? Like, you're shaming Veronica, yet you're probably very single yourself. Jesus. Anyway, she's like, we gotta look for more than a guy who's, hung like a horse. No, Debbie, no, I don't. No, I don't. Like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. As a black woman who is attracted to black men, who love my black men, I am gonna look for those men that have the big lips. Because I love the big lips. I am gonna look for a man who maybe has the strong arms because that's a turn on for me. And if I find out the man has a huge dick, I'm gonna make sure I keep him. Sorry. So sorry, Debbie, if that's a problem. Like, because those things matter too. The sexual aspect of my relationship is going to matter too, not just the other things. Ugh, God. Um, but yeah, this is where Chantel says she's most she ever had, so we've already talked about that. So they say, well, I'm sure, Debbie says, well, I'm sure Pedro was, hung like a horse. I thought we're looking for more than a man who's hung like a horse, Debbie. But she says, like, I'm sure he. And this is where Tim says, don't talk about a penis when it's not here. I hope Pedro is here. Come on. They got Muhammad on Danielle's season. Anyway. But then we have Giannis coming. And Karen's got some questions for him. She says, how many siblings you got? So he tells her, I think he had 3. How old, because he also said he has a sister. And she said, well, how old's your sister? And he says, I don't know, like somewhere in her 30s, I think he said. And Karen's like, has your sister always gone along with your girlfriends? And Chantel's like, abort fucking mission, okay? Abort mission. And then she says, so you're a foosball player, right? So, how does that work? The schedules and shit. Foosball? All I'm thinking about is the foosball table. I mean, Giannis says that's in Germany. It's football. She says, what is it? Football? What is it? Chantel, you told me foosball. Foosball. Anyway, he's a professional player of the foosball table. So good. But then we kind of talk about the whole situation of like Miss Karen talking about him having his own visa and all of that. She's like, no, get your own visa. You know, you're not gonna get a visa off my daughter. And he says, like, I would never, have like any expectations or anything like that. Like, you don't expect her to do things to support him financially, basically. But then Giannis also says about the attack of Chantel and what she's wearing. He says you should be able to wear whatever you want to wear. I'm not going to tell you how you should dress. That's no one's place. Exactly, Karen. I'm not Karen Debbie. Um, so, but what are the plans for you guys kind of going forward in terms of seeing each other? And Giannis says that they have been talking and there's whatever, but he hasn't promised anything. He doesn't want to promise anything because of his schedule. With the foosball. And he says it's difficult kind of maneuvering that. So because of that, he doesn't fully know when he will be able to come. He also doesn't know if he actually needs a visa. He assumes he does, but he doesn't actually know for sure, which is kind of something that's brought up because it's said, like, if he wanted to be here to see her, wouldn't he have already checked this, Which is a fair point, but I also can understand from his perspective of why waste the time doing a Google search if I don't even know where I'm going yet, Um, so I see both sides of that. Chantel, with this, kind of hearing this, does wonder, am I worth it for you to find this stuff out to be able to get here? Am I worth that? And he says, of course, But Tim is clearly not about this. He thinks he's bullshitting at this point. And Debbie doesn't think that he is making her a priority. And I kind of agree with that too. He's not making an effort as well. But I believe, I can't remember when it happens, but I believe he says to her at one point, it would be easier if you came here. And Veronica goes in on him and she's like, we just saw you say that you would come here and then she would come back. So it's your turn. It's your turn. Like, you know. But anyway, we see a flashback now of all the times Pedro has kind of infiltrated her mind during the trip in Greece. And she's crying after this. And she says it's hard. Y'all, she's not over. She says she's over him. I do believe that she never wants to be with him again. I do believe her on that. But she's not over him in a general sense. She still loves him. She's still hurt by him. She's still hurt by her marriage ending. But there's a lot to go through after that long with somebody. He's all you knew for 10 or so years. He was everything you knew. He was the only thing you knew. And it's really hard to adjust after that. So I want her to work on herself. I really do. And stop worrying about we're going to get to something she says that I'm just like, but wait. We'll get to it in a minute. Yeah, she says it still hurts, but she is still trying to believe in love at the same time. She wants to believe that there's something for her, that there is something more than just Pedro doing what he did. So Chantel feels embarrassed. She leaves. She did leave, and she felt embarrassed by it because, of course, she's crying about it in front of Giannis. Karen is with her too, and meanwhile, we're still going to talk to meet with Giannis on the set, and he says, of course, he didn't know, the impact of Pedro on Chantel at this point. Clearly, it's still very fresh for her, yes, and it makes him sad. And it is asked of him, do you think that she is actually ready for a relationship? And he feels that she is not. He wants to give her time. And Tyree says, do you want to be in a relationship with her? I think this is an important question to ask. Good for you, Tyree. He says, I think she just needs time. That's what he keeps saying. So someone else asked, I think it was Tim, says, is that why you're not coming here? Is it because you feel she needs time? And he said he doesn't fully think that, but at the same time, he says, yeah, that might be true. So is it or isn't it? Because it was very confusing, but he talked in circles, and I think ultimately he landed on, yeah, that might be it. She says, he says that she just got out of divorce. And he says, oh, sorry, Veronica says, okay, so what do we do now? Because he just broke up with her and she's not even here. Like, what do we do? And I don't know if you necessarily, you can't break up with someone if you're not with them. You know what I mean? So I don't think he necessarily broke up with her, but he's definitely taking the stance of, I'm going to take a step all the way back while she deals with what she needs to deal with. But Chantel does come back after kind of talking things out and whatever. And she says, he says to her, sorry, when she comes back, I think you should be given time so you can be, healed and ready for your next relationship, You hear him say that? Chantel disagrees with him. She says it's normal to explore other relationships while healing. Not serious ones, though. Not serious ones. And maybe you can find something serious as something not serious. That's my experience. I can't picture life without him now. But initially, I definitely had to be very careful. But I also took a very different stance. I was very cautious. But she also was married a lot longer than I was. She was with him a lot longer than I was with mine. I can't imagine how easy it would have been for me. Now being with my partner now for almost the same amount of time that she was married to Pedro, I can't picture being able to move on that quickly. Oh, you're getting to be a ball of mess. So yes and no to that. She kind of says, and this says a lot, she says it's kind of like faking it till you make it. You can't fake it till you make it when it comes to your heart and your feelings, when it comes to something like this. And that just goes to show, Chantel, you aren't ready. You literally just admitted you're not really ready and you're faking your way through it. And that's really sad that you feel like you need to do that. I don't want her to do that. I don't want her to feel like she has to do that. She just should let herself heal. And when you are ready, it's going to be so amazing. But you're not ready yet. And that's okay. I want her to go into therapy. It breaks my heart. And so, now we don't know what's really going to come next from this. I'm hearing Chantel be honest. But of course, he will see her again, he says. No, you're not. Anyways, she's like, even if I'm not ready by your definition. And he says, sure. She just doesn't want him to make any excuses. But, Val, he's not coming. He's not coming. But anyways. Anyway, we go on break now. And Chantel asks, what was the conversation after I left? She's very curious about that. And Veronica is like, well, I guess it has to be me because no one else is answering. And she's like, well, he kind of, in a sense, kind of broke up with you. He was definitely being more clear when you left, which is true. He was. In saying that the divorce could be, a factor for him. And she also said, he definitely said that in a sense. But Veronica also said that he said that that's why he's not coming to America That's not exactly what he said. That's not exactly what he said. Um, so yeah, that kind of wasn't great because it wasn't exactly what I think. Chantel, you want to know what Hannah said? Watch the show back like the rest of us, and you'll know what he said. Anyway, again, maybe something was said that was edited out. We don't know, but it's just, I'm like, where did that come from? Anyway, and no one said anything to say Veronica. No, he didn't say that. But anyways, um, John says, it could be a language barrier. What? John, he speaks pretty clear English. I don't think it's a language barrier. I love him. Um, yeah, he's like, it could be a language barrier. Who knows? Um, but Chantel says, I am over Pedro. No, she's not. She's not fully over him yet. But I am angry at him. And Karen says, well, don't even give him that. You're giving him the energy. But it's because you're angry at him, it's telling me you're not over him. And I learned that. I would say the same thing. I'm over my ex. I'm over my ex for the longest time. And I realized my anger that I was still holding towards him for all the things that he'd done to me, for putting me in the position of having to go through this, was why I was angry at him. And that meant I wasn't fully over him. When I stopped giving a shit and stopped caring and put boundaries up for myself, was when I finally moved on and was over him and was able to open myself up to my current relationship and to the man I'm now with. Because I can't picture life without him. I can't picture life without my ex. And I'm pretty much okay with that. So it's kind of this thing of I don't care anymore. That's when you know you're over him. But Chantel says she doesn't want to talk about it no more, so we won't talk about it no more. That's it for Chantel in this part. We are going to take a break here, and when we come back, we will talk about Natalie. And I am back. So let's jump in with the craziness that is Natalie. So, how are we enjoying LA is the first question that is asked her. And she says, it's crazy expensive. You don't say. And she's like, it's not like what she thought in terms of breaking it into the industry that she wants to break into. Natalie, you're a 38-year-old woman, even though that is young in the movie industry, starting out for the first time, that's old. So yeah. She's like, you need to have connections to get into the industry, and she doesn't know anybody. So I guess that director friend of Josh's didn't work out. So we get the flashback of the breakup between Natalie and Josh, and Chantel's actually crying. Like, she's legitimately crying. Anyway, Josh comes out at this point, and he goes to Natalie, and he kisses her on the forehead, I believe. And she doesn't even flinch. She doesn't do anything. She just sits there. You're like, what the fuck? And Sean is kind of like, so wait, you just kissed her. You guys are not supposed to be together. Like what is going on here? And, Josh still confirms, like, with her friends, whatever. And Sean's like, friends that kiss. Well, those do exist, but whoa. But he says, yeah, I mean, she spent the night last night, like, I'm sorry, what is happening? You know what I mean? So at this point is when they bring out a couple of familiar faces from the previous season, and that is Caesar and Josh's favorite, Mother Debbie. Well, he's not thrilled. It's really funny because when Debbie comes out, she says, "Hi, Josh, how are you?" And he kind of just like this comfortable look on his face. And he's like, "Hi, Debbie." It's not going to be great. And it is asked of Debbie in this moment, like, why don't you like Josh? And she flat out says she doesn't like Josh because he lies, which, I mean, and this is an interesting thing because I feel like this is something that came out that was never fully said, like, on the show, but kind of things that came out after the fact, things that we just pretend aren't happening. Because Debbie says he has like a girlfriend and then he still has Natalie, and I'm like, oh, we're gonna go there. Okay. So Josh explains, how they got reconnected. And basically he says that Natalie got into a car accident with the car he quote unquote bought her. And that's how they got reconnected. Because she basically called him after the accident happened. No one was hurt, everyone was fine. But it is asked of Josh whether or not he considers Natalie his girlfriend, for which he responds, no, he does not see her as his girlfriend. Miss Debbie at this point kind of says to Natalie, you shouldn't be sleeping with him, then. Like, that's how he feels. And he's probably never going to not feel that. Then you're just giving him something, rewarding him something that isn't going to end well for you, because clearly you want more, but he doesn't. And Caesar says, yeah, but it's not just Josh, it's going both ways. Like, she's sleeping with him too. Caesar, sit down, please, shush. Because yes, that's true, takes two to tango, but Natalie's going into it probably thinking she can make this work and she can have Josh back or something. And he'll change his mind, he'll change his perspective. Josh doesn't go in it in that sense. He's in it in the sense of, well, I'm just getting my fix and I'm going to move on into the next or whatever. He's not taking it seriously. So Mother Debbie says, I still don't think, she's even seen his house yet. Like, that hasn't changed. And Josh doesn't deny it, It's frustrating, I think, because it's like, you say you're not together now, but you were together before. And in all that time, you still didn't show her your house. She's living in LA. You still haven't showed her the house. You don't have to be dating somebody for them to see the inside of your house. Like, it's just weird, his take on things. But yes, he says they're not together, right? And Miss Debbie asks, Josh, what are you still trying to figure out after all of this time that you should have been able to figure out before? Then we ask Josh if he's ever told Natalie that he loves her. We actually think that's a possibility. Come on. We didn't actually think he actually said that to her, right? Much less even felt it. Like, there's no way. Which, anyway, the answer is no, obviously. And John says, okay, let's break this down then. He has feelings for you, but he's not going to marry you. So because he's not going to marry you, his feelings are never going to be strong enough for him to ever get to that point. So you're wasting your time with this guy. Veronica is like, he has feelings in his penis, Exactly. His penis, tingles for her, but nothing else. Which, I'm sorry, it's not, which is fine if that's all you care and want for, but now it doesn't just want that. She wants someone that she can marry and have child with, you know. She had that. She had that with Mike, but she screwed that up. Josh says, I don't want the negativity in my home. Ding, ding, ding. There we go. So why couldn't you just tell her that? And if that's how you feel that she is such a negative person, then why are you with her at all? It's just, you're wasting everybody's time. You know, Natalie is confused. I think a lot of us are. And she says, she's like, what is the problem? What's the problem? And he's like, well, you want me to break it down for you? You want me to air out your dirty laundry? Sir, you already did when you just blurted out. You spent the night with her the night before. You're airing out her dirty laundry, so just say what you gotta say. So he's like, you want me to break it down? He's like, the jealousy is a big thing for him. Which, yeah, because he gives an example of when he took her out. They were staying at this very nice hotel, kind of maybe a little more higher end type hotel. And he's like, and these beautiful women came into the elevator and they were looking at me, and she took such offense to that and was kind of like, why'd you take me to this place? Prostitutes come here, whatever. And here's the thing. This is so layered. The first thing, number one, is Natalie a jealous person? Yes, she is. Yes, she is. Number two, were they necessarily prostitutes? Probably not. They see this good-looking guy or whatever, and they're gonna stare. Women are bold. We're bold people. I've literally had women staring at my man right in front of me. We don't care, It is what it is, but they're not necessarily prostitutes. You're just looking at something good, whatever. She didn't need to flip the script because of it, or flip the table, or the goddamn elevator over it. But that is Natalie, right? Oh my God, number 3 or number 4, who knows? Josh, you clearly were noticing them if you refer to them as beautiful women. So then does that give Natalie the right to then be jealous? Because was there something else that happened that you're not telling us because you refer to them as beautiful women? Come on. Number 4, chances are this actually happened. Because again, this is Natalie we're talking about. But she denies it. She said that never happened, but it probably did. We get this never before seen, where I feel like we kind of seen most of this, so I wasn't quite sure where the never before part came in. But nonetheless, it's with the business partners. It's Ty and Peyton. That's it. So Mother Debbie, after watching the scene, is disgusted. I get it. And Natalie says, do I deserve people calling me names? When I've been loyal to you for, 2 years? She's like, I have nothing. $2,000 a month in rent. No one told you to move to the most expensive cities besides New York. One of the most expensive states in comparison. I know there's some cheaper places you can go, but it's an expensive place to live. And you chose to live there. And you were living in St. Pete's, Florida. I mean, that's on you. Google is free. Yeah, she had no job. Why did I go to LA? Because you wanted to pursue your dreams. I mean, you make it about Josh, Natalie, and that's the reason you moved. But I'm sorry, that's not the only reason. You moved because you thought you could make it into the industry. And that's not working for you. You ruined your marriage because of it. I just, I don't know, man. I don't know. Anyway, Josh says that she came to pursue her career. And I think Natalie is trying to make it, again, not trying to, she is trying to make it seem like she came for Josh, which he fully says, and I believe him, says, I told you not to come for me. You said you were going to come to pursue your career, so fine. But he 1000% denies telling her to come for him. And that's what she's been saying, is that he told her to go. So Veronica says, okay, did you ask her to move? He says, no. I have my reservations. Again, that's when he said I told her not to come for us. So, and Veronica's like, okay, but he's saying you didn't. You're saying you did. Like, there's some miscommunication going on here. But now, the business partners are here, Peyton and Ty. And Peyton says, she's demanding and she's needy. I won't say she's rude. I take that back. And Chantel says, okay, but, she is alone. So why are you talking about her in that way, especially talking about her that way behind her back? And he's like, well, I'm a direct person, but if you want me to sugarcoat it, I'll sugarcoat it. He's fucking rude. Okay? I don't like them. Why are they here? Jesus. Anyway, he kind of like, she's ambitious, she's this, and she's, shut up. But then we start shitting on Debbie in this moment because Debbie's like, okay, but you're saying she's like ambitious and all this. But 2 seconds ago, you said she's needy and she's demanding. Like, which is it? Because, and Peyton's like, well, this is one way I thought, but I'm thinking differently now. Like, I can change my mind about a person. I judge people, whatever. And Debbie's like, well, I judge people too. I just don't judge them for money when I judge them for free. But she's like, okay, but you said those things. Like, now you're trying to, like, paint her in a different light than you did there. Like, somewhere on the way, you're being disingenuous. Like, And he's like, okay, I need you to listen. Okay, I need you to fucking listen. Fucking listen. Okay? Why are these people on the stage? Like, and Josh is like, she doesn't listen. It's like a dog whistle. Who raised you? I don't care if you don't like her. That's fine. Who knew I'd have more respect for freaking, what's his face? What's his name? Sarper. That's it. When Debbie was coming at him and he's like, I'm not going to say things that are rude to you because you're an elder. I'm not going to disrespect you, so I'm not going to say anything. Here you have fucking Josh who's like disrespecting his elder, no matter how you feel about her, or you don't like her, fine, but like, I just want to speak to someone, especially an elder, in that way. But here's Josh is all willy-nilly. Just great product, see. Anyway. Bashan asks a very quick question and she says, well, if she's not your girlfriend, Josh, why are you paying for things for her? And that's very true. Chantel says, you have a sugar daddy vibes, and Ty has to come in and spin and defend. It's men's rights, and he has to swoop in and he's like, how is he a sugar daddy? He's a really nice guy. He likes to help people. Like, how is that him being a sugar daddy? Well, here's what makes him a sugar daddy. Veronica says, like, it's all of these things. Number one, the woman's never seen the inside of his house. He pays for things for her. Right? He sleeps with her. there's a transactional relationship here on both sides, but for different reasons. That equates a sugar daddy on his side, you know? And someone asked Natalie, like, do you think he's your sugar daddy or something? I think Ty asked her this, and she's like, well, how could he be a sugar daddy? I know nothing about him. I don't go to his work, haven't seen his home. So why the fuck did you move to fucking California if you don't know him? Why, who does that? And her, with her or his narrative, or even her, well, actually no, her narrative of things, which is she moved for him. You literally said you know nothing about him. So what? I was so confused. But Veronica says, like, that's exactly what makes him a sugar daddy. Like, that's exactly it. So Tim tries to jump in and kind of add some light to the situation. He's not disrespecting either side, but Tim says, okay, let me, kind of shed some light on the subject. He starts to try to say things about, you know, you're sleeping with her, you're giving her money, whatever, right? And Natalie goes off and she's like, you know, why are you saying those things to me? I'm a nice woman. I wouldn't do those things, or blah, blah, blah. Whatever the fuck. Like, she's basically, it's coming across like he's trying to say she's acting like a sugar baby, but he's actually trying to defend her. But she won't even give him a minute. And even Josh is like, hold on, he's not saying what you're thinking he's saying. But she won't even give anyone a chance. She's like, Tim, are you crazy? Or like, I can't remember what exactly she says. But it was like, Natalie, this is exactly why Josh has said what he said about you. You go from 0 to 100, you don't listen to what's happening around you. You just, anyway, here's what I'm going to say too about her reaction, because her reaction says a lot to me. No one reacts in that way, this defensive way, if there isn't some truth in what's being said. Now, do I think that they are on the same page for what their transactional relationship is? No. His transaction, from his end, the transactional relationship is the sex, for him paying for things and whatever. That's for him. For her, the transactional side of things is, I have sex with him. He's going to give me the connections to this industry so that I can break it. Their transaction is very different, but nonetheless, it is a transactional relationship. So there is some truth in what's being said, and she knows it. And no, we can't have that. Natalie can't be known as a prostitute, because wouldn't that go right back to when Butter, if you're a Reality Gaze fan, when Butter, which is Mike's mom, literally said, or we actually don't know, she said it, according to Natalie, called her a hooker. I mean, we can't have that, right? But that is it for the single life, second part. Next time on, Chantel gives us a twerking lesson. Great. We see Shannon, which was Tyree's date, and I think it was the first person he went on the date with. We're going to be continuing with Natalie and Josh, of course. Patrick is here to talk about potential timelines with John and Megan. And then something about the poor animal wants to go home that Natalie was saying to Josh. But anyways, third part looks pretty decent. Of course, I won't be covering it when it comes out right away. But just as a reminder, I will be covering the third, fourth, and fifth parts of this tell all in one episode once I am back from surgery. But until then, that is it for the single life. So if you like what you heard, please rate, review the podcast on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, don't forget that you can also share us with everyone in your life if you really love this. And I do want to read those reviews. I'm definitely getting 5-star ratings, but I want to read those reviews. So send me those reviews and I will read those 4 and 5-star reviews on the podcast. Also, we're on every one of your favorite podcast apps. Every one of them, including you can find us on YouTube at Reality Tea Times2. If you want to connect with us, you can do so by going to either Facebook or Instagram at Reality Tea Times2. You can also find us on Twitter, TikTok, Reddit at Reality Tea Times2 Pod. We also have our email, which is at realityteatimes2 at hotmail.com. Definitely want to hear from you guys. And we also have our new website where you can listen to all of these episodes. You can review the podcast on there as well. You can connect with me in any way, all the stuff. It's all there, and you can find me there at www.realityteatimes2, all spelled out, .podpage.io. It's there. And don't forget, I also have my other podcast with my friend Mikkel, Next Take Podcast, where we talk about all kinds of different topics. But you can find us on any of your favorite podcast apps over there as well. Or you can also go to YouTube and you go to Next Take Podcast, as well as our website, which is solo.to/Next Take Podcast. So yeah, there's that, and that's basically that. And again, don't forget, if all of this information is overwhelming, we do have all of the links, everything in our show notes. But that is it for now, guys. Thanks. Bye.